Dad! Take me to the hospital! Mom is.
Arthur pleaded desperately into his smartphone, his voice trembling. I was crouched down, unable to move from the spot, because my water had broken. In such a situation, a young child can only think of their father. However, the response from John over the phone was cold and detached. "I can't, I'm on a company trip," he said, laughing carelessly. It was a transparent lie.
"Help! Please help!"
Finally, Arthur burst into tears. I was overwhelmed with intense anger. John could coldly abandon me in my condition. And I couldn't forgive him for ignoring Arthur's desperate pleas. A week later, having safely given birth, I was getting ready to go out. Then my phone rang. It was John. Arthur answered the call for me, as my hands were full. "Where's Mom?" Arthur replied clearly. "About to be buried."
"What do you mean?" "Hey, Arthur!"
John, taken aback, stammered.
"What do you mean? Hey, Arthur!"
Ignoring John's frantic questions, Arthur ended the call. "Let's go, Mom." "Yes. There's work to be done now." We headed to a specific place. Ready for our modest revenge. My name is Holly Morgan, a 33-year-old housewife. I live with my husband, John, and our 5-year-old son, Arthur. After John goes to work and Arthur heads to kindergarten, I spend my days doing housework. Once that's done, it's my time. I share videos online as a hobby. Simple recipes and parenting tips, just a housewife's musings. It started as a way to kill time. John used to be away on business, so I began this to fill the void. Lately, I've noticed more subscribers than I expected. My life hacks for parenting and housekeeping must have resonated with my viewers, who are mostly moms raising kids. So even after John returned from his business trip, I kept finding time to make these little broadcasts. Sharing these videos has become a small joy in my daily life. One day, I found out I was pregnant. We had been thinking about having a second child, so this news was a delight. Both John and Arthur were thrilled. There was so much to think about, choosing a name, getting baby clothes ready. Looking back, I guess I was too excited about being pregnant again. That's probably why I didn't notice sooner. The nightmare eating away at our family had already begun. It happened on a typical weekend morning. After breakfast, John was fiddling with his smartphone. Arthur ran up to him.
"Hey Dad, let's play treasure hunt."
Arthur had recently taken a liking to playing treasure hunt. In this game, we hide a treasure somewhere, and John and I would look for it. It was supposed to be a peaceful weekend. But John, hastily hiding his phone, snapped at Arthur with raised eyes.
"Quiet! I'm busy, go over there."
Shocked by his tone, I couldn't help but intervene.
"Hey, there's no need to talk like that. I'm dealing with work stuff. How can I focus with all this noise?"
"Work? On a weekend morning? You're just playing on your phone." John, growing even more agitated, yelled.
"It's business communication. You wouldn't understand, you're just a housewife taking it easy."
"What's that supposed to mean?" He huffed and stormed out of the room. Arthur, sensing the tension, started crying. I quickly went to comfort him. "I'm sorry, Arthur. Dad's probably just in a bad mood." But it was unlike John to say such things. Before his business trip, he used to help a lot with Arthur. His attitude has been off lately. He's always sneaking around on his phone. Even when I try to talk to him, he seems distracted. And he's been increasingly critical of me. Saying things like, "You're just a carefree housewife," or "You don't have the responsibilities of a working man like me." Was it the stress of work? That's what I thought, but John's behavior only escalated. One day, he came home and walked into the living room with a scowl. He glared at Arthur's toys tossed in the corner. "Hey, why aren't these picked up?" I had just put away the toys in the toy box, but it seems I forgot some. "Oh, sorry," I said, hurrying to tidy up.
Geez, you're a housewife and can't even discipline the kid properly. I come home tired from work and have to deal with a messy house.
Again, he made a snide remark.
Don't be mad,
Arthur said in a near-tearful voice, stepping in front of me, as if to shield me. But John callously trampled on Arthur's tender heart. With a bored look, he snapped at Arthur, "Move," and left the room with a click of his tongue. This recent behavior was just too much. I need to have a serious talk with him. I hugged Arthur, who was crying, and made a silent promise. The next night, John came home. "John, I need to talk to you." "What is it?" "Make it quick, I'm tired," he replied, as indifferent as ever. I started anyway. "About your recent attitude." Before I could finish, John raised his voice, talking over me. "I'm gonna be away on a business trip for 2 weeks starting next week." "What? That's sudden." "And for 2 weeks?" "Yeah. It's more like a trip for work. The bosses are targeting new clients in a different area, and we'll do a bit of sightseeing too." "Man, it's a hassle being dragged along." "I see. Yeah, I don't need dinner tonight. Good night." "Wait. We're not done talking." But John ignored me and went straight to the bedroom. We used to have a light drink and chat about our day after Arthur went to bed. But now, that atmosphere is completely gone. John locked the bedroom door, shutting everyone out. I sighed, finished up the remaining housework, and turned on my computer. I was working on combining a video I shot the other day with narration. It's the usual video editing I do. Previously, I focused on simple household tips, but lately, it's mostly about John. I created a segment about husband troubles, saying things like, "I feel like my husband has become colder recently." Surprisingly, these topics seemed in demand, and my view count has increased. Today, I also briefly talked about the recent interaction with John. After posting the video, comments started trickling in. "Your husband is terrible. He doesn't understand your struggles at all." These empathetic comments helped me calm my emotions. But one comment caught my attention. "A sudden business trip? Sounds like an alibi for cheating." Cheating, I had a faint suspicion, but I was trying not to acknowledge it. I'm starting to think it might be true. John's recent behavior has been inexplicable. One day, while doing household chores and wrestling with these thoughts, I was looking for receipts to update our household budget. They should be around here somewhere, I thought, searching everywhere but finding nothing. As a last resort, I checked a small chest in the living room, typically holding Arthur's kindergarten stuff, thinking maybe the receipts got mixed in there. That's when I found the bottom of the first drawer was removable. What's this? It was a hidden compartment. The chest wasn't originally like this. Someone had deliberately modified it to be hard to find. It wasn't me. So it must have been John. A sinking feeling hit me as I looked inside and saw something unfamiliar. Is this what I think it is? My heart raced. Trying to calm down, I took a deep breath and turned on my computer. I decided to post a video urgently about what I had just found. I wanted to hear my viewers' opinions right away. I had a hunch, but I needed confirmation. Soon, comments poured in. Reading them, I realized my suspicions weren't wrong. The week began, and it was Monday. John would be away for a while. It was during John's supposed business trip. Okay then. Arthur was at kindergarten, and John wasn't coming home. I decided to take this opportunity to act. And then the weekend came. I had almost everything ready. I thought I'd be fine whenever John returned. That morning, while doing my usual housework, I suddenly felt a pain in my stomach. At the same time, I felt a warm sensation flowing down my lower body. Could it be my water broke? I needed to get to the hospital immediately. I was hit by waves of labor pains. In between them, I quickly got dressed. Then, I packed my bag with insurance cards, a change of clothes, and towels. But then, a strong pain hit me. I thought I could still move. But the pain was so intense that I involuntarily crouched down. I tried to find my smartphone to call a taxi, but it was nowhere to be found. Mom? Arthur had woken up. Arthur, my phone. I pleaded desperately. Hardly able to speak. Arthur, shocked by my condition, found my phone nearby and grabbed it. He seemed to make a decision and frantically operated the phone. He often plays games on my phone, so he knows how to use it. Arthur shouted into the phone.
Help! Mom can't move. She looks in pain.
It sounded like he was talking to someone. Luckily, the speaker mode was on, so I could hear the other person's voice.
What's it now, Holly? I'm at a good part here. Huh? Is that you, Arthur?
Of all people, John was on the other end.
Dad! Take me to the hospital!
Arthur pleaded desperately. In such a situation, a young child can only think of their father. But the response from John was cold.
I can't, I'm on a company trip.
He said, laughing carelessly.
Help, please help!
Finally, Arthur burst into tears. In the midst of severe pain, I couldn't forgive him. It seemed like he didn't care that I was suffering. And to ignore Arthur's desperate pleas so callously was unforgivable. Crying, Arthur hung up the phone and called someone else.
Grandma! Grandma! Arthur? What's wrong?
It seems that Arthur, with his shaky little fingers, managed to call my mother. I then lost consciousness from the pain. When I came to, I was in the hospital. I was in bed, with my parents looking over me worriedly. As soon as I regained consciousness, the pain returned. I grimaced.
Holly, are you okay? Arthur called us. He said you couldn't move and was desperate to get the message across.
Arthur must have been terribly upset, but he had cried himself to sleep earlier. He was now in the hospital's childcare facility, my mother explained.
We called the ambulance after hearing Arthur's call.
It's amazing, only 5 years old. My mother remarked wistfully. By the way, we couldn't get a hold of John. My father sighed. It seemed my parents had tried calling John too, but to no avail. They knew he was supposedly on a business trip, but of course, that was unlikely. He was probably enjoying himself. I quietly burned with anger. This wouldn't go unanswered. But first, there was something I needed to do. After my parents left the room, doctors and nurses came in to prepare for the delivery. After hours of battling labor pains, I gave birth to a girl. Named Hannah. Hearing Hannah's healthy cries, I might have been released from the tension. I fell asleep. I woke up a full day later. Thanks to the sleep, I felt a bit better. I sent John an email about the birth. But there was no reply. Driven by desire, he probably wasn't thinking about his wife and child. As expected, but still infuriating. But when John returns from his fun business trip, he's in for a hellish surprise. Imagining his face then, I smirked wickedly. Thanks to my parents' care, I was recovering smoothly after giving birth. On the day of my discharge from the hospital, I was joined by my parents and Arthur, who had been staying with them.
Hey Mom, are you feeling better now?
Arthur looked at me worriedly.
Yes, I'm all better now.
I answered with a smile. I realized how much anxiety I must have caused him recently. I hugged Arthur and stroked his head.
Hey, let's play treasure hunt again soon.
Arthur said with an innocent face.
Sure, it's been a while. What should we bury?
Well. He whispered something in my ear, leaving me speechless in surprise. A week later. My phone vibrated. Mom, your phone is ringing. Arthur called out. As I was getting ready to leave, I replied, I can't answer it now, just leave it. Then, Arthur, staring at the screen, answered the call. From a distance, I heard a muffled male voice. It seemed to be John.
Hey, Holly! What, Arthur? I'm coming back tomorrow. Where's Mom?
She's about to be buried.
What?
John sounded confused.
What do you mean? Hey, Arthur?
Let's go, Arthur. I called out to him, and with a smile, he hung up the phone. We had a task to do. I went out with Arthur to complete a certain task. By the time we returned home, it was already dark. My postpartum body was completely exhausted. Arthur, tired as well, fell asleep, so I left him and Hannah with my parents who live nearby. There was still something I had to do. I decided to wait for John's return. Early the next morning, the front door swung open with force.
Holly! Hey, where are you?
A frantic John entered the living room. He looked back and forth between me and a chest in the corner, hesitating about what to do. I smiled knowingly.
You're late, John. I finished burying it yesterday. Huh? What are you talking about? Arthur also mentioned burying something.
The ring. I replied, causing John to turn pale.
I know everything. The ring you hid there, were you planning to propose to your mistress? It even had both your names inscribed on it. How thoughtful.
I pointed at the chest, and John's face turned even paler.
How did you know?
I knew everything. And it started with the video I streamed. I had talked about John's recent strange behavior in the video, and one of my viewers suggested he might be cheating. Then, the ring from the hidden compartment of the chest. A brand new one from a famous brand with both names engraved. I confirmed my suspicion. After discussing it in another video, viewers advised me to hire a private investigator. Especially if I considered divorce for substantial evidence for alimony. Right after John left for his business trip, I commissioned an investigation. As expected, John was cheating. The other woman worked at a snack bar in the town where John was previously sent for work. She was Rachel, 23-year-old. It seemed John, lonely from living alone, began frequenting the bar. Eventually became romantically involved with her. It's a common story so far. Normally, such relationships end once the work assignment is over. But not for them. They continued even after John returned home, sneaking around to stay in touch. He started treating me worse. And then, pretending to go on a business trip, he went back to his old work town to frolic with her. And the ring was indeed intended for a proposal to her. How deeply he must have been involved. Proposing to another woman while having a wife and children is laughable. Rushed back because you gave the wrong ring to your mistress and she got mad, maybe? My words changed his expression.
You did that? It was you.
Yes, I switched the ring in the chest. Anticipating he would give it to his mistress during the trip. I replaced it with my own wedding ring, one that John had given me years ago. I was happy then, but I don't need such a thing anymore.
What have you done? The ring was the wrong size, and it had your name on it. Rachel was furious.
I don't know anything about that. John frantically opened the chest and searched thoroughly. Where did you hide the real ring? Didn't I tell you? I buried it. What? I replied. John was at a loss for words. Right then, the front door opened. John, are you okay? Isn't it over yet?
Idiot. Don't come in.
It was Rachel standing there. I had seen her face in the photos provided by the private investigator, but in person, she was just a flashy young woman. She had apparently followed John. Likely upset after receiving my ring with a different name on it. John must have pacified her, saying the real ring was at home. But unable to wait, Rachel decided to follow him. I could imagine such a ridiculous story unfolding. Huh, so this is John's wife? Just some old lady. Rachel said mockingly with a laugh. She thought flaunting her youth would give her the upper hand. Her naivety almost made me sigh. Ah, the mistress Rachel, right? Let me guess, dropped out of vocational school for quick money, working at a cheap snack bar? But you couldn't attract any wealthy men, so you settled for a married businessman who's not going anywhere, feeling triumphant over his wife. Is that about right, Rachel? What? Rachel was speechless, hitting the nail on the head. I had already investigated all this. In today's age, once you know a name, social media does the rest. Someone like Rachel, craving validation, would surely share her history somewhere. Sure enough, her social media revealed everything. Rachel said brazenly.
So what if it's true? John loves me. He proposed to me, and I got the ring I wanted. Just divorce him already.
I was planning to divorce him anyway. There's no point staying with someone like him. John and I had been married for 5 years. Blessed with children. But his infidelity during his business trips, uncaring even during my pregnancy. And the way he treated Arthur and me. There was no reason to continue this marriage. I had decided to divorce him once his cheating was confirmed. By the way, aren't you going to look for that very important ring? Where did you hide it? I didn't hide it, that sounds so sinister. Today, Arthur and I went for a walk on the beach. We played treasure hunt there, it was fun. I said calmly. John's face changed.
Don't tell me you buried it there.
John muttered, trembling. Then he rushed outside. Where are you going, John? Rachel called out, following him. I too stepped outside the front door. The place where it was buried was about a 20-minute walk away. Clutching my smartphone, I walked briskly. It was the nearby beach. Upon arrival, I saw John and Rachel frantically digging around in the sand.
It's not here, where is it, damn it? That ring was expensive. What are you doing? Find it now.
They were panicking like fools. I leisurely recorded the scene on my smartphone. They were so frantic that they didn't even notice me filming from a distance. It was comical and I couldn't help but laugh. This beach was a place our family of 3 used to visit often. We often played treasure hunt here. Arthur would bury something in the sand, and John and I would search for it. The treasure varied, usually something valuable to Arthur. Toy cars, cicada shells, typical boyish stuff. But today, the buried item was the real ring John intended for Rachel. When Arthur recently suggested playing treasure hunt again, I asked him what we should bury. He immediately said, a ring. I was taken aback. I know about it. Dad has been looking at a ring and smiling recently. What are you talking about? Arthur had been observing John closely. John must have looked at the ring he splurged on, imagining his mistress. It's Dad's important thing, right? If we bury it, maybe he'll come back to find it and return to being the dad we used to know. Arthur said, his eyes shining. Arthur didn't understand. He didn't know the ring was meant for Dad's mistress. He thought since Dad was happy with it, it must be important. He hoped finding the ring would bring back the kind father he knew recently. Arthur's pure heart moved me. And so, earlier today, we buried the ring on this beach. But John, frantically searching now, wasn't thinking about his family at all. His only concern was not upsetting Rachel. As I filmed, I realized I was crying. My heart overflowed with resentment towards John, who had destroyed our family. It was a harsh reality for Arthur, but John would never return to who he once was. Afterward, I went home to edit the footage. They were frantically searching like fools. Thanks to my sound capturing app, I captured their voices perfectly too. After adding a blur to both of their faces in the video and a narration, it was ready. I talked about our family's history, the treasure hunts Arthur used to play, and how John's selfish affair led to our family's collapse. Of course, I concealed all our names. I clicked and uploaded the finished video. Titled I Buried the Ring My Husband Planned to Give His Mistress. Instantly, the view count soared. Comments flooded in. Your husband is terrible. Poor kid. Most of them condemned John and Rachel. While I was reading the comments, the exhausted pair returned. Finally found it, buried in the damn beach. The ring I cherished, all dirty with sand now. What are you going to do about it? They complained loudly. John was holding the sand-covered ring and a crumpled piece of paper. This paper was buried with it too, disgusting. He said, throwing it in the trash without a second thought.
Don't you understand?
I said coldly, staring at John. I took the paper out of the trash and unfolded it. It was wrinkled, but it was a drawing Arthur had made with crayons. A picture of our family of 4, all smiling. It took him a moment to realize what it was. Oh. John's expression grew complicated.
This is Arthur's feelings. You trampled on them. Sneaking around, cheating, neglecting your family. You are the worst person, unforgivable.
The living room fell silent at my loud voice. Rachel also looked guilty. I turned to her and said,
I won't forgive you either, Rachel. Breaking up a family and then acting like nothing happened. I'll fight against anyone who hurts my children. Thoroughly.
I declared firmly, glaring at them both.
What about Arthur? How's the baby doing?
John asked in a hoarse voice. It seemed he finally thought of the children. But it was too late.
They're at my parents'. Besides, you ignored them for your precious ring.
How dare you even ask now?
Well, it doesn't matter. You won't be seeing them again. That's unfair. I'm their father. Father? Who neglected his kids for an affair? I don't want to see your faces. Get out.
My commanding tone left them completely intimidated. Let's just go, John. All right, I'll leave for today. Holly, I'll contact you when things have cooled down. John and Rachel awkwardly backed out of the house, looking uncomfortable. There would surely be discussions about divorce soon. I was determined not to lose. I clenched my fist as if to bolster my resolve. Eventually, after some time, the divorce was finalized. John, perhaps sobered up by my outburst, said he wanted to reconcile, but I ignored him. It must have been a fleeting whim. He would surely cheat again. As proof, while talking about getting back together with me, he apparently started living with Rachel. He wanted to maintain relationships with both of us. And be seen as a good father to Arthur and Hannah. That was unacceptable. Of course, I demanded a hefty alimony. John desperately asked for installment payments, but I refused that too. I demanded it in one lump sum. Due to a particular concern. The video I uploaded had gone viral, far beyond my expectations. It garnered millions of views and spread across various media platforms. Although I blurred all faces, clever viewers managed to identify John and Rachel. John and Rachel were identified through subtle clues, such as the appearance of the beach and their reflections in the window glass. The worst husband, John Smith, works at Easton Commerce. Rachel, the hostess who has a history of targeting married customers. Such articles popped up one after the other. Once it started, it couldn't be stopped. John's actions became known to his company. He had been neglecting work, spending too much time at Rachel's place during his business trip. That's why he was transferred back to this branch. Moreover, he had run out of leave days when he lied about the business trip. He told his company he was sick and got absent days, which led to his eventual dismissal. Without a job, he wouldn't have a salary. So, claiming the alimony first was the right move. Now, child support to follow. It was also a concern, but John's parents agreed to pay it until he found a new job. With his name now widely known, it would be hard for him to get re-employed soon. He had brought this upon himself. I also filed for alimony from Rachel, but she had quit the snack bar and was unemployed. In panic, she and John started a couple's video channel. They tried filming their daily life as a couple and streaming it, but it ended up fanning the flames of controversy. What a disgrace! Shamelessly thick-skinned. An unbelievable pair were among the criticisms that quickly led them to stop. They probably thought it would be easy after watching my videos. But just trying to make money without any real thought or planning was doomed to fail. This led to Rachel's parents paying the alimony. But they disowned her, saying, "This is the last time we take care of you." John had been relying on her, but their couple's videos failing led to constant arguments and an abrupt breakup. Their bond was surprisingly shallow, I thought cynically. Initially, John was over the moon being liked by a younger woman, and Rachel, reveling in the thrill of being with someone else's man, likely fueled their romance. But once the magic faded, reality was all that awaited them. What they lost due to momentary emotions was significant. Meanwhile, my channel skyrocketed in popularity. I was busy with consultation requests from mothers whose husbands were cheating, and collaborations with companies, thriving as an influencer. Streaming videos became a joyful activity, and the comments from viewers were uplifting. Moreover, my income, previously meager, increased significantly. I used that money to renovate and expand my parents' house. We live as a 5-member family. My parents are happy to be close to their grandchildren. Arthur has really grown up and become a reliable big brother. Hannah is growing up healthy, playing happily with Arthur. However, one thing concerned me. Since then, I hadn't let John meet the kids. I hadn't discussed the ugly adult situations with them, but I wondered if Arthur really understood. Contrary to my worries, Arthur was nonchalant. "Dad? It's okay. He didn't help Mom even when she was suffering. We don't need such a horrible person." His clear words surprised me. Even at a young age, children see and understand their parents. "From now on, I'll play treasure hunt with Hannah," Arthur said with an innocent smile. I felt profoundly relieved. John was gone, but Hannah had come into our home. Seeing the kids' lively faces, this joy is irreplaceable. Now, I am happiest when I am able to enjoy my days with my family.